is me, NBT SKY, and so we are doing CNN, the Cable News Network, Inc. So, first off, let's get through the numbers part of it all. So we have CNN, which is as we know it, and it breaks down to 13 and 4. High number 4, medium number 4, the low numbers is 0. So that brings us down into Saturn. Now, when we look into the full name of it, we have Cable, which is 14 and 5, which brings you to Mercury. News, which is 16 and 7, that's Uranus and Neptune. The network comes into Uranus and Neptune, and Inc. brings you into Mars, which brings you to this high number 81 and 9, which is Pluto. The mid number is still Pluto, and then the low number is 0. Now, CNN went through several transitions. I didn't go through all of the transitions. I didn't go through the Tom Warner thing because they a whole nother situation, which I'll probably maybe one day I'll do a reading, a numerology report on. But anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, the founder, from what I saw on Google, is Robert Edward Turner III. So in his name, he has the master number 33 two times, and then he has the other master number 22 and 4. All right. Now, like I always say, we usually in numerology do not break down these numbers. I like to do it because that's what I like to do. So anyway, the high number 97, 16, 7, which is Uranus and Neptune, right? Which matches the 7s over here. And 7 comes up as a dominant number in the numerology report anyway. And then you have the medium number, which is 22 and 4, which we're going to get into a little bit more, and the 33 and 6, which we're going to get into a little bit more. But the low number, which is common when you're looking at these, let's say, entities, people with a lot of money, is that the sun usually comes down in a low frequency. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but it usually comes down in a low frequency. So then we go into the birthday. The overall is Mercury, which is matching this the name in Cable. Now, when you break this all the way down, which if you've seen previous videos, you've seen how it's broken down. So we're just gonna get to the situation. The high number is 54 and 9, which brings you in Pluto. The medium number is Pluto, and the low number is 1, which is the Sun. These two right here, excuse me, match what's going on in the Cable News Network, Inc. So Pluto in the birthday is dominant. The Sun being in the low, for the most part, is dominant. And then you have, in this day, you have the Sun, which is the date that it was supposed to be launched. So instead of me just breaking down the date, I decided to look at the numbers of the actual breakdown, the letters into numbers. So Sunday we got 21 and 3, that brings you into Jupiter, and then June you have 21 and 3, which brings you into Jupiter. You put it together, you still have another 33 and 6. So 33 and 6 is still a dominant situation when it comes to Robert Edward Turner and CNN. Now, the date that the actual date that is supposed to be launched, right, breaks down into 7, which brings you back into Uranus and Neptune. And so its high frequency is in Uranus and Neptune, medium frequency is in Pluto, and then the low number is in 0. Now in tarot that would be the Fool, right? And then when you looking at Uranus and Neptune, Uranus is the Fool, Neptune is the Hangman. So it's looking at things from a different perspective. It's also a discussion of stagnation, some stubbornness, and sacrifices. All right. So when we have this 33 and 6 that comes up with this high in the Uranus and Neptune, and this mid number of this 22 and 4, we got this 33 and 6 here. So there's a balancing out that's going to take place between the air and the water frequencies. So whether he knows it or knew it or not, what's put on this particular network deals and it fluctuates the emotions of the majority that interact with that particular station. Not saying that is knowingly or not. Also, you have this 33 and 6 that's lonely down here, and it's not lonely, but it still says that Uranus and Neptune is still dominant, right? So you're looking at these secrets, these abilities to build. You're looking at, them having a particular access to information and then having to kind of balance out how they're going to push it to their audience. As we know, it's supposed to be news. Period. It's supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to be, this is what happened and this is what we're saying. But this is not how it always works, because they end up having information that the majority do not have. And then they end up trying to balance out or try to figure out how to push this news without losing connections to their sources, let's say. And so this is why you're going to see in certain situations, in certain readings like this, you're going to see the sun that's going to come in low, in the lower frequency, which is you think they're giving you information, but is a lot that you're not going to get. Also, it's a discussion of, even if we do give the information, it's only going to be a certain group of individuals that's going to actually grasp it, understand it, and process it for what it really is. So that brings it into a little tricky situation. Now, outside of that, you're looking at this other number here, which is the 11 and 2, right? And so when we're dealing with tarot, you're dealing with the high priestess, you're dealing with hidden information and knowledge, and the high priestess don't really tell us the information. Mind you, is in Pluto. Pluto is a very rough energy, even though it is a water energy, it's a very cold energy. And so this is bringing the colder, more rough side of the 11 and 2, or the high priestess, into the situation, if you like tarot, right? Mind you, this is confirmed in the cable news network name, with Pluto here being dominant and then medium. And then once again, Pluto being dominant and then medium in the sun, letting you know for a fact that there's a lot of information out here that will, that they have, that you're probably not going to get clear facts and sources from, whether you like it or not. Now, you got Mercury that comes up in cable, and you also have Mercury, which comes up in the year, right? Now, when we're talking about Mercury, got the notes. Generally, this is a discussion of the, the flexibility, freedom, and sensation. And all of this does create that. Do they have the flexibility to really communicate what's really going on? Probably not. Would they communicate to everybody else? The families that listen to it, the business owners that listen to it? No. They don't really have the flexibility. And if they do have the flexibility, they're not taking advantage of the flexibility or standing on the flexibility. It's just that simple. And this is what brings this coldness into this particular situation, because it can be manipulated and violated, because they have not either decided that they're just going to give news raw the way it's supposed to go. So when we get into looking at Saturn comes up 3 times. This is the earth energy. This is about giving money, giving materials, getting help, right? Being funded, being supported, all of that other good stuff. So if we're looking at through the minors, we're looking at the Saturn 3 times. We got the 3 of coins. This is help, being funded, things of that nature. Then you have Mercury that comes up 2 times, which is the air energy. It comes up the 2 of swords. So things that's not ever going to be discussed. And people that's interacting or are part of the situation, they have to separate from their emotions and their common sense. And the fact that, there's money involved, there's funding involved, and this, and the third. Yet, they're still willing to disconnect from that, even if it's going to be a negative effect on their own generations later with this information. Right? And then you have Uranus and Neptune, which comes up 6 times, which brings you to the 6 of Swords and the 6 of Cups, which is just reconfirming that, This is about them having to let go of certain aspects of what news is supposed to be, what information is supposed to be, with a little guided help, right? And then you got this Six of Cups, which is letting you know that this is a cycle of this is a cycle or a behavior that's continuous throughout news. It's not just like CNN has to go through this. This is news outlets in general that go through this. This happened in the past, it happened now, and it may happen again. Now, when you have this Mars that comes up one time, we're looking at, the Ace of Wands. This is this fire energy. This is not necessarily not stating that the Ace of Wands is Mars. I'm going based off the elements, just so we could be clear. So we're dealing about business, creativity, or creating a business, stabilizing a business, building a business, a thought that comes into action. That would be Robert Edward Turner III. That's his thing. Jupiter comes up 3 times. We're looking at the elements, so we're looking at the 3 of Wands. So this is something that was thought about, and not only just thought about, but, what is it going to be in the future? Was he able to properly predict it? Probably not, because it went through so many different transitions and so on and so forth. So it's like, yeah, I want to do this. I'm pondering on it. This is what I'm into. And it should stabilize me in the future. Fine. So then we got Venus that comes up 4 times. Right? So we got this 4 swords energy, where there's this need, or there was a need to fall back, which is probably a discussion, a transition, a deep meditation, having a transition, having a rest from the situation, or having to let it go to a degree. Not saying that his family line has let it go, or that they do not still benefit off of it, but this is something that they will still benefit off of, directly or indirectly, one way or the other, whether he's here or not, period. Now we got Pluto, like I was telling you, which is this cold, rough energy. It comes up 5 times in the 5 of Cups. And so, CNN knows about and discusses a lot of loss. And even in the creation of this, Robert Edward Turner had to literally experience some emotional detachment in order to get this working. Anything or anyone that's dealing with or within CNN has to relinquish emotional attachment in order to kind of deal with this, because a lot of these people that's dealing with bringing information, they know way more than what they're able to bring to the table, regardless of the fact they get way more sources, way more information, and still become limited to it, whether it's right or wrong, and they gonna push the information regardless of what their emotional state says. Now the sun comes up 4 times, bring you this 4 wands. So it's letting you know that all of these things take place because it's about partnerships and stabilities. It also brings me to this understanding that there may be 4 different dynamics and how CNN actually works, or 4 different powerful people or people with influence at minimum that kind of determine how the flow of information comes to the public, period. Now, what's truly being created and what's being built is what the 33 and the 6 is discussing, right? What's being changed and transformed is what the 11 and 2 is discussing. And this is where the secrets come in, and information that's being hidden and still not being put out there in plain sight. And the only reason I'm really reading on this is because throughout different genres of whatever, whether it's the news, music, or whatever, CNN seems to be a name that pops up whether people notice it or not. And so that's what triggered me to want to read it. The problem with this whole situation is, was it created in a higher frequency? Yeah, it was. Was it destined to tell us straightforward information? No, because we got this sun in the low. And when you bringing in the Fool, in the beginning is, I want to bring in straight information. I want to bring in news. I want to do this. I want to do that. That was the fool aspect of Robert Edward Turner III, thinking that, I'm going to go on this adventure, I'm going to create this station, I'm going to be able to bring straight news, untampered with, without being bothered. The thing skates off into God knows what, and there's no control. He doesn't even have control over it at this point, and his offspring, really, they may benefit, but they will not have any control over how information is processed and given to the masses. And there's nothing he can do about it, whether he like it or not. And so there had to be an emotional detachment from the whole thing in order for it to be prosperous at the end of the day. It's just that simple. So when people, push this concept of, fake news and things like that, that's the discussion. It's not that they don't have the information to provide to the masses, is that they become controlled by powerful entities and powerful people, and people that fund them, people that help them, people that give them sources, things of that nature, that prevents the news from being raw like it's supposed to be. It's just that simple. It's not hard. Seeing, they have a powerful platform, and those who have power understand they have a powerful platform, and when that takes place, they try to infiltrate it, or they do infiltrate it, and they control the ebb and flow of how we as a whole receive information. And so we have to listen to the information that's given in a manner that's conscious, but we have to really listen to it slow and kind of repetitive to a degree. Not to be programmed, but to get a full understanding. There are going to be, in this, with this 11 and 2, is letting you know that there's going to be certain people who, in this particular group of in CNN, there will be people that have mastered language or double speak or whatever they would like to say. They've mastered it, and so it's our responsibility to master being able to pick up on what it is. There's people that's still within there that actually care and actually still see news as important, and unfortunately they kind of tied. And so they learn how to speak in a particular way where certain people can pick up on it if they, understand the concept of the double speak. And so when you learn the concept of the double speak, you're going to find the anchors and the people that do deliver news at CNN. You're going to find the real ones versus the fake ones. It's just that simple. But other than that, it's really a chokehold on information. And there's nothing that the founder or founders or whoever got you, is nothing that can be done about it. It's just how it is. It's just that simple. It's light and sweet for CNN right now. So if you're gonna go for, real news versus fake news, really at this point we at a point where news has been infiltrated. One of the reasons is because people don't understand the history of news. People don't understand the importance of still having access to newspapers. People don't understand that newspapers was created as news sources for the people, but also as a way of keeping record, and it's supposed to be untampered with, so that throughout the decades and years and so on and so, it becomes history, so that we can all go back and see what really happened without the information being tampered. Unfortunately, even that's been tampered with. So it brings us to social media, it brings us to CNN, it brings us to all of these major stations that report and that have powerful platforms that unfortunately they have a chokehold over. The population can fuss about it all day, but the people in power still control the ebb and flow. And, one can blame CNN, and at the same time you can't, because CNN can't even exist without these powerful players who control the ebb and flow. And then there's people who have jobs, and then executives, and so and all that other good stuff. And so really, don't expect to get raw news out of it, because you're not. Expect to have to really listen and have a understanding of reality beyond, the 5 focal points that we all usually deal with, which is food, shelter, clothing, employment, and finances. It's just that simple. Anyway, it is me, NBT SKY. You already know what time it is. Deuces. I'm going to take it down. I stayed up late to do this for y'all. And I will see y'all on the next. If y'all want to see something else, request it. Deuces.